Alright, now let's go ahead and create this controller logic here. And what we're going to do here is I'll just go ahead and create a directory here with the name. Let's add a directory and give it a name controllers itself. And that is fine. And now let's go ahead and create the base controller which I'm usually using, and that is called API controller. And now with that API controller, it's going to have all the base stuff. Let's say it should be inheriting with controller, you know, controller base itself, and I should be marking this as in API controller itself. Otherwise, that won't be treated as an API controller. And now let's go ahead and have this route. Let's define certain template over here, right? So what I'm going to have is like API slash v, and here we can utilize this versioning which we have already used. So this version, let's call this API version, right? And then we can just say whatever controller it is coming, so that will be replaced with this, with this itself, right? And that's fine. Now here I'm just going to provide this API version itself, and let's call this one. So this will be substituted here, whatever API version is giving, and then the controller will be the whatever the controller it is that. So now API controller will be inherited in home controller, or let's say movie controller in this case. So in that case it will be movie itself. So now let's go ahead and create this movie controller, and let's say the name movie controller itself, and in which case it's going to be inherited from our base controller, which is API controller itself. And now our logic will go here. So let's have constructor first of all, because I need to inject mediator itself. So let's have this iMediator, which is coming from mediator library itself, and let's have this mediator created, and let's introduce this field to inject our resources inside the method, right? Now let's have HTTP get, of course, and let's create this public async, and let's have this task, and let's have this action result itself. And in which case I'm just going to have here, let's say IEnumerable of what, and IEnumerable of movie response, of course. If you remember, like what I'm going to have is like get movies by director name, right? And let's have this string director name. And having said that, what I'm missing here looks like one angle bracket here. And let's go ahead and implement this. So we need to have this query, because this is the query which is handled by the handler, right? So we are going to need this query, and we are going to just say get movie by director name query, and that is going to take the director name, of course, which we are supplying from maybe UI, or in this case Swagger itself. And then we are going to have this result once we delegate this to awaitable method, in which case it comes as mediator dot send. Send is the dispatcher kind of thing, which is going to dispatch the request to the handler itself, and then it will be taken care by the handler itself, which we have already written in our application itself. Right now result is okay, and in which case I'm just going to return the result, and that's why this action result will take care, and not this result, it should be returned, right? And let's provide certain Swagger documentation to be more specific, and let's say probably status code, or maybe status let's just type 200. 200. Why it's not coming? Status codes and status. I'm looking for this one. Yeah. So 200. Okay. So this is fine. Let's have another method, and let's have this time http post to create a movie, which cause that handler we have created. I'll I'll just have the same thing here, right? And now let's go ahead and create this public async, you know, task, and that is going to need this action result. And of course, from there as well, we are just going to return this movie response with the new ID, let's say. And in which case, I'm just going to have this create movie, and let's say that is going to take from body itself, right? Because this is how you're going to supply that, right? Let's keep this as command. Now let's go ahead and do that. It's the stuff. Now where result is going to be new command itself, and this command is of type create movie command. It's already taken here. So what I'm going to do is mediator dot send, and probably command is more than enough, and then you know return this result, and let's have this. Okay. Yeah. And now inside. Okay. Yeah, this result is fine, and let's have this available. So now this squiggly warning is quickly went out. So this is done. Now probably what we need to do here is let's test this next, like whether it's working or not. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin up a Docker container for this one locally for SQL, and then we'll see whether it's working fine or not, because this is just a demonstration of like how clean architecture works, how this pattern segregation working, like this application, core, infrastructure, and API, how API is orchestrating this entire scenario here, and how this separation of concern is neatly delegated. So that's the entire gist of this entire landscape. And based on that itself, if you like this journey, right, so you can then delve into that more complex scenario what we have already discussed, into that complete reference of microservices, which is divided into six episodes or six different courses itself. So let's jump to the next clip itself.